Welcome to the White Lotus channel. Thanks for being here. Deck review. Gabrods Evolve Stomp. Historically, it's called Stompy. He called it Stomp. It all means the same thing. Not a lot to explain here. Stompy is a historical archetype. Does what? Kill the opponent quickly. How? Anybody's going slow, mid-range, control, especially control. You're low to the ground, getting off fast, putting everything on the board, and doing everything you can to kill them quickly. There's not a ton of interactions, but we'll get to that in the game plan portion of it. Let's look at the curve. This is 16 lands, run minimal, a pile of 1-drops. Your 2-drops can be a bit deceptive with Burning Tree, Emissary, and Halo Hopper. Burning Tree adding 2 extra mana when it comes into the play. With creatures that are untapped on the battlefield, Halo Hopper can come into play essentially for free. So it is not uncommon to go Burning Tree, Emissary, casting Nest Invader off the 2 mana that it produces, and then the Halo Hoppering on the back end. Again, it's not a complicated deck. For someone new to Magic or just getting into Pauper itself, I would highly recommend not playing more nuanced and subtle decks or decks that require a lot of decisions per turn and a lot of specific sequencing. It's best that they have a chance to win, and doing it this way I think is pretty good. There's a couple of decks that fit that narrative. So strategically, it's a hyper aggressive deck. Stompy, historical. There'll be a link down in the description to the history of Stompy throughout the years, or decades, I should say. It's very good. Recommend that you check that out. What do we have for creatures? Experiment 1 is a 1-drop 1/1 that becomes a 2/2. And this whole deck, for the most part, is a ton of 2/2 creatures that you get out quickly. We can get them a little higher. We'll go over that in a second. Experiment 1, 1-drop 1/1. The next creature that comes in as a 2/2 is going to make it a 2/2. If you get a Halo Hopper, it's going to make it a 3/3. Nettle Sentinel, 2/2. Nest Invader, 2/2. Burning Tree Emissary, 2/2. Pit Skulk, once damage has been done, comes in as a 2/2. It's a flurry of 2/2s. Quirion Rangers there to kind of help. If you hit your 1 land, the interaction would be on turn 2 or turn 3 whenever you need to do it. If you've only hit 1 land, you go ahead and tap the land, return the forest, replay it, tap it, and get your 2/2. It also untaps Nettle Sentinel. All right, so some other things that the deck is doing. I think the key part of this is Burning Tree Emissary and Halo Hopper. Honestly, it just allows for the explosive start. So even though you're curving, it's different than that with Burning Tree Emissary adding the mana. Minimum game threshold in Magic Theory. What is that? The deck operates on 2 mana. Control decks are going to be at 4 mana, but this deck operates at 2. You can get there on 1, but it's not optimal. 2 mana, you can get the job done. I think you'll see that in the gameplay. Other things that we can do. The 2/2s become 4/2s with Rancor. Savage Swipe adds 2/2 to the creature, removes a creature. You're attacking for 4. Vines of the Vastwood adds another 4 if it's kicked. In the event that you start to run out of gas, and with this kind of deck, you either get the job done by 4, or it starts to struggle. Elven Farsight, the new addition, helps you dig, sets up the ensuing turns if necessary. The traditional, I should say more recent Stompy decks that have fallen out of favor for the most part, you had a lot of Bogle-esque type of gameplay where it's, what's the name? Not Skywalker. Ledgewalker. Yeah, this is not Star Wars, it's Magic. Ledgewalker with an enchantment on it. Can only block it if you have a flyer. So you're kind of loading up on creatures and getting through. This particular version is more go fast, go wide. Sideboard, Fairy Macabre, targeting those cards in the graveyard that Affinity tries to recur, or more recently, that people are trying to exhume. This happened to me, and it's been discussed before in some other forums. One of the things that you can do with Fairy Macabre, if somebody is playing Exhume, you go ahead and target the card in the graveyard with Fairy Macabre, and then Exhume has to put this creature into play. So if you have no creature in the graveyard and they go to Exhume, discard Fairy Macabre targeting their creature. Exhume has both players putting creature cards on the battlefield at the same time. So it's a way to get a 2/2 flyer into play. Life goes on. Red decks gain some life. That's all it's trying to do. Magnify. You can use it as a combat trick against other go wide decks to add +1, but it's also a way to try to counter the only board wipes that are going on here. You've got Quark Clan Shaman, which is a play that you might, if they're going to try to blow up your 2/2s, you can kind of come in on the back end with Magnify. Breath Weapon, Fiery Cannonade, Arms of Hadar. Those sweepers in particular can clear this board in one shot. End of the festivities, unless you double up, it's not going to do anything. Suffocating Fumes, it's another one that's not going to do much. Gleeful Sabotage, targeting enchantments, targeting artifacts that you want to get rid of, Affinity, Bogles, things like that. Ram through is what it is. Targets a creature, gets rid of it. So some people look at decks like Stompy and just kind of ignore it. Metas change and adapt all the time. There are certain archetypes that are playable when the meta becomes a certain way, and then there's times that they're not. Decks like Stompy, burn, traditional burn, not Kadatha burn. And Stompy is more in the line of red deck wins, Sly, things like that. There's times that you just pull them off. If you're playing competitive Magic, the goal is to win. It's not to win your way or only with the cards I like to play. That's not winning. That's bitching. All right. So when the meta is a certain way, you play what wins. Now, if you're playing for fun, it doesn't matter. You play whatever you want. But if you're playing competitively, the meta is what it is. The rules aren't going to adapt to you. You play what wins. And in this particular tournament, he made top 4 with this deck. It's probably a meta call. It's not always going to be the go-to choice. It's a great deck to start with for sure. But when the meta slows down, lands start being blown up, things like that, mono-colored, low to the ground, go fast, go quick, get in with the power, and just win. That's what's important. Playing for fun's a whole different other category. It's a totally different discussion. The goal is to win, and the meta is what the meta is. Your goal is to exploit that. When the meta slows down, if you have a bunch of tap lands, a bunch of things that don't get started until turn 4 or 5, you've already won the game. It's a meta call. Highly recommend you check it out. Let's get into some gameplay. Match 1, Game 1, unknown opponent. It's not the optimal starting hand. Optimal starting hand, 2 lands, Experiment 1, Burning Tree Emissary, Nest Invader, Halo Hopper. We can dig to try to get it out, but we're just testing it and seeing what's going on. So it's not optimal. We only have 2 creatures, prefer 3 or 4, but let's see what we got. Halo Hopper is fantastic. We're not attacking here. We're just deploying threats. Let's take a look at what we have. Experiment 1 is a 3/3, 2/2 off Nest Invader, 3/2 off Halo Hopper. It's 8 damage, 3 turn clock. Looks like we're probably against Affinity. That's what I was thinking. Relic, they usually run Nihil Spellbomb, so Relic threw me off for just a second. Didn't see a lot on Elven Farsight as far as creatures go, but we're just going to crash through. Right now, we don't want to see Quark Clan Shaman, even though it would set them back, but we want to avoid board wipes at all costs. So far, things are looking great. Thought we'd find another one, but nope. Still lethal.
Finish him.
If you don't have an answer, if you're slow out the gate, decks like Stompy, decks like Burn will get you. They exist. It's not unfair. It's magic. Let's go on to game 2. Game 2 versus Affinity. Cannot keep Triple Vine's hand. 3 creatures. Ranger I usually don't like to see in the opener, but that's okay if it is. We'll run it. They do target it, which is interesting, but right now, Burning Tree into Nestivator. Actually, Burning Tree into Gleeful Sabotage and blow up that Great Furnace. So a little slower out the gate than what we like to do. Shaman, certainly not thrilled with it, but they don't have much on the board yet, right? So them sacrificing to kill a bunch of creatures that are 2/2s, it's a little bit of a setback, but we're not going to overextend here. Certainly not now. Oh, another thing too, let me pause real quick. On Ranker, I'm sorry, hang on. On Ranker, there's a great video on the flavor text of Ranker by Ristic Studies. Link will be in the description. Excellent video. So we have our own mini enforcer here, a 4/2, and we're just going to beat it down until they do something about it. Just not going to overextend. We may now, with them being out of red. Just looking to win quickly. Opponent misses the land drop. Great for us. We're going to try to go wide here. That's why I'm not playing Ranker. And just try to win it on the next turn. Not looking to go head-to-head on an Enforcer. Ranker and Vines will get it done. 5/2 trample. Vines kicked. Match is over. We're going to do another match real quick. Match 2. Unknown opponent. This is sick. This is absolutely sick. Triple Emissary. Let's go. Tap land. Okay. We're up against Scred. Don't know if it's a fairy build. Don't know if it's the UR control build with Terra, but we'll find out. They'll find out too. But just a busted opener. Just sick. What do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 9 power on 2. And then coming in with Ranker. So all we got to do here is dodge Breath Weapon or Fiery Cannonade, which they usually, if it's, right now with Serpentine Curve in the graveyard, we know where they are. So we're just dodging the board sweep or we're not going to get it done. That's fine. Opponent concedes. Let's go to game 2. Match 2, game 2. On the draw, UR control. Not a bad opener. 3 creatures, some pump. Expect some of them to not survive for long. They run a lot of removal spells. Surprised he didn't do that on my turn. And just keep the 2 lands open, but I don't know what he's holding, and maybe he had a reason. Sure. 3 turn clock. 6 power on the board. Make it 8. It's not lethal yet with the Terror. We'll try to get there. You could have argued that Vines of Astwood here on Nettle Sentinel for removal is the play, and potentially. They do run Augur of Bolus, sometimes Delver. So right now I'm just trying to go wide. I figure I'm going to lose one. I'm just hoping the board doesn't get wiped. Savage Swipe will take out Augur of Bolus, win the game. Hope you enjoyed the matches. You can see some explosiveness. It does not give the opponent a lot of time. There's not a lot of durdling. You either can wipe that board quickly or you can't, and you need the right kind of removal for it. Anyway, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Stay safe. Be well.